the Toronto Blue Jays went in and said, I don't really care. I don't care if this is LA. I don't care if this is the Dodgers. The Blue Jays went in and absolutely whoop up on the Dodgers 6-1. Yesavage, who I said on this show yesterday, for anyone that hadn't been paying attention, in his entire career as a Major League Baseball pitcher, which has been about 3 seconds long, had only pitched 4 road innings in his entire career in an MLB road stadium. And last night, he went in and he dominated in World Series Game 5.
It was such a thrilling performance. And we saw Trey Yesavage do that in the ALCS against the Seattle Mariners. But in his first work in the World Series, it wasn't his best. He gave up 4 hits and 2 runs and 4 innings of work. So it was redemption last night. It was redemption in the best fashion. I mean, Trey Yesavage made that Dodgers lineup look was one of the lowest payrolls in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, look last night. Shohei Ohtani, 0 for 4. Mookie Betts, 0 for 4. And Mookie Betts has really largely, for the entirety of this World Series, been a non-factor, to the point that Dave Rogers, the manager for the LA Dodgers, has had to shake up the lineup a little bit. Freddie Freeman, 0 for 3. Tommy Edman, 0 for 3. And Tommy Edman has stepped up to the plate, no pun intended, in October's past. Max Muncy, 0 for 3. And the Dodgers only had 4 hits. 4 hits? I mean, look, all credit in the world to Trey Yesavage, but he is still a rookie. And that rookie made the Dodgers look like they were a bunch of rookies. I mean, the Dodgers just didn't have any answer for what Trey Yesavage was giving them. And it was so electric to watch, Fitzy. And I really feel like, my reaction to Game 5, and really maybe even this series in its entirety. Yes, it's been incredibly back and forth. Yes, we had the 18-inning thriller just a couple of days ago. But so far, and specifically last night, we are seeing the Toronto Blue Jays play like how everyone expected the Dodgers to play. I mean, everyone was talking about, is this going to be a gentleman's sweep? Are the Dodgers going to be nice and take it to 5 games? How quickly are the Dodgers going to be able to take care of the Toronto Blue Jays? The Blue Jays heard all of that talk and they said, we hear you and we are so much better than anyone could have anticipated. So much better than I think I and so many others gave the Blue Jays credit for. It's on the mound. It's at the plate. The Blue Jays have looked like the better team for the better parts.
Yeah, and at some point, the Dodgers seem frustrated. Last night was one of the worst Dodger games I can remember. I mean, think about it. They had as many wild pitches in that game, 4, as they did hits, 4. They had the most wild pitches ever in a World Series game. And it just sort of was indicative of how the night went. What you saw on one end were the Blue Jays making incredible plays, especially defensively on the one Shohei hit, diving out, laying out, catching. The Blue Jays were making incredible defensive plays. And it felt like all night the Dodgers were just chasing. And if anything, I expected on a 3rd straight night in L.A. that there would be the opportunity for the Dodgers to really make a statement. I don't think you want to go into Toronto needing to win both of the games at the Rogers Center. Like, that's just not it's an unenviable position to be in. And if we're being real, if you look at the entire context of it, if we take the 18 innings was incredible. It was magnificent. But the reality of it is the Blue Jays won 2 out of 3 in L.A. Like, it's been wild since the end of that 18-inning game. It just feels like it's the Blue Jays that have been able to recalibrate, put that long game behind them, and continue to move forward. And since then, it feels like it's the Dodgers that just are out of sorts. They're out of whack. Shohei has looked human, which we talked about yesterday, and that's fine. But 2 days in a row, and now that becomes concerning because he really is the spark plug that's going to make everything go. Mookie Betts has just looked bad. I don't think there's a nice way to say that. Like, Mookie Betts has not played well at all throughout the course of this series. So you just look at this across the board, and what we've seen are stars come up small and everybody just chasing pitches they shouldn't chase while they're suddenly chasing their tail. There's just none of this has the calm that I would have expected from the Dodgers in this situation. And now their back's up against the wall. And it's easy for me to say, Caroline, no worries, they got it. They can win 2 in a row. I'm still stunned by what we saw last night. The team that lost last night certainly doesn't deserve a lot of benefit of the doubt for going to Toronto and being able to sweep 2 in a country where, as I said yesterday, 1/6 of the entire country watched the first 2 games of the World Series. Like, you are going into the biggest home field advantage you could imagine, and you just played like that in your own stadium? I don't feel good about this at all for the Dodgers.
I don't think you should. And really, if you look at that 18-inning I don't want to play revisionist history, and I don't want to take anything away from the Dodgers, but that really truly could have gone either way. I think that game was the perfect example of how evenly matched these teams are. So what the Blue Jays are doing is no fluke. If I want to say anything is a fluke, it was that 18 inning game. So it's inexplicable, really offensively, what we're seeing from the Dodgers. But I think that Dave Roberts is in a really difficult position. And what if we talk so much about the vulnerability about the Dodgers? It's their bullpen, it's their relief pitching. That, between Yamamoto and Blake Snell, who were fantastic in the LCS, that Dave Roberts almost has to keep in Shohei Ohtani, obviously. Don't want to forget about him. Dave Roberts is almost forced to keep them in probably longer than any other manager in sports would keep them in, because Dave Roberts doesn't want to go to the bullpen. In a close game, or a game that feels like the Dodgers can still, Dave Roberts might have to exacerbate his starting pitching, because what are you going to do? Go to one of these guys that are unreliable, and then all of a sudden, you'd rather, keep a guy in for too long than take him out too early and then have to continue to exhaust these guys that you just simply do not trust. So I think that's kind of where you're seeing the Blue Jays have the ability to run away with some of these games, because the Blue Jays were up 3-1 going into the eighth. I mean, this was still a game that the Dodgers still could have come back into. 3-1 going into the eighth. Anything can happen. It's October baseball. You're the LA Dodgers, you Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani. You should believe in your team offensively and what they can do. But late in that game, that's when when the Blue Jays totally just ran away with it. So although the Dodgers are getting great starting pitching, and Yamamoto will be on the mound in Game 6, that's a guy that I would trust maybe more than anybody in Major League. But when you don't trust your bullpen, it only makes your starting pitching worse in a way, because the guy is throwing 6 when he really should have gone 5, or he's throwing 7 when he really should have gone 6. So you're starting to see that, I think, come to fruition. And the way that this Toronto offense is humming, it took one pitch to hit one home run last night. I mean, before people even grabbed their popcorn, when people were still waiting in line to scan their tickets, Davis Schneider went yard, and then Vlad Guerrero Jr. followed right up with it. Before you could even blink, the Blue Jays were up 2-0. So I think those two things combined, the way that this Blue Jays is humming and the way that Dave Roberts really just cannot trust his pitching, and that's a recipe for success for the Blue Jays. But all of that being said, Fitz, I still think that there very much so is a path for this Dodgers team to come back.
I mean, as we see there, and as you just mentioned, the Blue Jays were up 2-0, 2 batters in, which means that Yesavage had all the run support he needed for the entire game in the first 2 batters. Like, that just speaks to what domination this was. And you're right, there's still a path. But if we're being real, part of the way that we got to this conversation, remember about a week ago, was could the Dodgers have the most dominant postseason we've ever seen? And I think part of the reason we got to that expectation in that conversation was because the Dodgers stars were playing like superstars. Like, when your great players are playing like they are superhuman, all of a sudden you look absolutely indestructible. What we haven't seen from the Dodgers throughout the course of this series is, what do they do when those same people just look really good? Like, what do you do when those players aren't necessarily superhuman? Like, when you need a Herculean effort from your starting pitching combined with the Herculean effort from Shohei, combined with a World Series iconic moment from Freddie Freeman to win a game, that's just being real on what we got, So at some point, if you can't get all of those great things to happen at once, so far in this series, you just get your ass kicked. Like, that's just throughout the course of this series, it's gone one or two ways. Oh my God, I can't believe the Dodgers figured out a way to win that game. I am stressed. Or it's gone, man, the Blue Jays are up big. Let's just put our feet up and have a beer. Like, it's just the Blue Jays have been kicking the snot out of them. So I hear you, especially going into Game 6. And we see this here, 65.8% of teams who won Game 5 to go up 3-2 have gone on to win the World Series. I love these stats. It's so incredible. The question is, what will happen if we get to a Game 7? I just feel less confident today than I ever could have imagined that we'll get to a Game 7 because of what we saw last night.